Hi everyone, welcome back to another reaction video. How are you doing, you beautiful, beautiful people? As you can see, I'm in my new apartment. All I have is a couch. I still don't have a desk. As you can see, I'm going no arm as well, but I will sort it all out. At the moment, it's important for me to talk to you and to react with you, doing what I love, which is reacting with you right here. So today we're gonna do something a bit different. I thought we're reacting to everything therapeutic, right? So I came across a mentor named Jay Shetty, and he's doing this podcast called On Purpose with all the big names in the world. And I thought to myself, it can be very interesting to hear it together and dissect what the people who really went to the full extent of their abilities, what do they have to say. So I think it can be very interesting, and I want to do it with you. So without further ado, today we're going to react to Kevin Hart, On Purpose. Let's go. Let's react.
The biggest drug, it's not cocaine, it's not heroin, it's fame. Anything you want, everything you want, it's a thing. And if you can't handle this thing, the consequences attached are severe. Do you know you, and are you okay with you? If you are not, it'll break you.
The best-selling author and host.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
On Purpose with Jay Shetty.
I'm gonna stop already and say so many people, so many opinions, the exposure you have. You gotta be sure of yourself, or else everyone can startle you and break who you are. That's very, very dangerous. Let's go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every one of you that come back every week to become happier, healthier, and more healed. And I'm so grateful for this community that we have here, because I get to sit down with some of the most incredible minds in the world, people that I find fascinating, not just personally and professionally, but because of the potential and the purpose that they have. Today's guest is someone who has been on my list to interview from day one. So it's a very special moment for me. I'm very excited. I'm speaking about someone, the one and only Kevin Hart, Hollywood's box office powerhouse, opening 11 films at #1 at the box office and grossing more than $4.23 billion in global revenue. Kevin has also become a successful entrepreneur. He's a chairman of Heartbeat, a global multimedia platform company creating entertainment at the intersection of comedy and culture with a mission to keep the world laughing together. I love that. Kevin is also the founder of Heartbeat Ventures. Kevin is a New York Times best-selling author twice over, and his first Audible original, The Decision, was nominated for an Audie Award for Best Original Audiobook. And I spent my last 5 hikes listening to his new audiobook, Monsters and How to Tame Them. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to tell Kevin right now because he's sitting in front of me, dude, I have not been that into something for a long, long time. And I'll tell you why. I have not stopped talking about the different monsters, the different personalities to my wife, to my team, to my colleagues. You've made it so relevant and accessible.
The monsters being probably the demons we face, right? Not only at the top of the success, but the second we wake up. We all have our demons going out in public because we have social anxiety, performance anxiety when we gotta go and do something. Demons and monsters all around. All of a sudden I thought about this, like when we're young, it just dropped. Like, I wonder what you will think about it. When we're little, we say there's a monster in the closet. But that's just our imagination taking form. So when we're young, we're so creatively smart, and we already create and believe in the fear, which is the monster. Wow. That's wow. All right, let's keep going.
It's so relevant and accessible to talk about your flaws in a way that I've never seen before. So thank you so much for being here, man. And
Thank you.
So grateful to be sitting with you.
Thank you. And when flowers are thrown out, I believe that they should sometimes be returned. And in this case, man, I'm here for a reason. The work that you've done, the success that you've had is groundbreaking. So major congrats to you. I just want to say there's an equal level of appreciation and excitement for the moment, man. You've done some groundbreaking podcasts. Your guests, to how you've gotten people to open up, the conversations that you've had. More importantly, the lives that you're saving by just being transparent, authentic, and true to who you are. I think it's dope as hell. So it's an honor to sit across from you. I'm excited about the conversation, and it's one that's been on my list as well. So I'm glad that we finally got it worked out to where we can make this happen.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's very kind, and it's really beautiful hearing that from you, honestly. So let's dive in before we keep going back and forth with roses.
Let's go.
Let's get it. One of the things I want to start off, and this is going to take us anywhere and everywhere, is how does it feel when you're winning
Kindness.
and then you discover you got monsters? Because that's kind of the journey you've been on, and I want to go back and forth in this journey, but I want to start there. Like, what does it feel like when you're winning, you're succeeding, but then you all of a sudden
Just
go,
bigger ones.
I've still got monsters in there?
When you say and use the word monsters,
You
just
always
for
have
clarity, so
monsters.
people can understand. Of course, we're talking about the different levels to you, right? And within the levels that I've discovered in myself, of myself, you got your good versions and your bad versions. And the bad versions I refer to as monsters, but just because they're bad doesn't mean they don't have good quality. And when you're winning and you're succeeding, there's this idea that everything is right. There's this idea that perfection.
So it's very long, or maybe we're gonna do it in parts, but as much as we go today, it's okay, we've got time. So he's saying that every monster has his, it's good quality as well. What does he mean? When I sit, let's go to the example I gave earlier, social anxiety. I don't go out and I stay with myself, afraid. What's good about that? And I think that if we think about it from a different point of view, understanding what motivates us as people, the pain that we experience from giving up to that monster is the same courage, the same level of so much pain that will become courage and break us free, So that's what I got from it. Let's keep going. Go back a bit.
Is right. There's this idea that perfection has now presented itself and life moving forward is going to be just an easy road. And it's not until you're in that position where you expect perfection and you think that you start to see the true problems and flaws really present themselves. And, my monsters have been masked and disguised in various different ways, but I've been able to pinpoint them throughout the years, because some of those monsters grew, got stronger, developed. You're talking about the world of an ego, the idea of who you think you are versus what you are, or the idea of expectations and needs as to what you feel you need and what you have to have. That's a monster that's feeding that, right? That engine of, well, now that I'm making money, this is what I should have. This is how I should look. This is how I'm supposed to be. That's a monster that you're feeding, because ultimately you're buying in to something that you're creating. You're enhancing this world of thought. And it's not till you sit down and you take a breather and you start to really figure out the true.
So there's this sentence that I think Jay Shetty uses as well. It's not his. It's a social worker, I think, or a philosopher who said it. I am not who you think I am. I am not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. No, that's a monster. Let's keep going. Go back a bit.
You start to really figure out the true definition of happiness for you. You start to really understand the adult that you have grown into and the level of maturity that has now, I guess you can say, have been banked inside the human that you are. You're banking so much over the years, and ultimately you're shaping and molding yourself into this grounded, hopefully this grounded individual that you're proud to look at in the mirror at the end of the day. I had to get to a place to where I was looking in the mirror and I was proud of what I was looking at, and I was okay with checking myself. I was okay with pointing out my flaws. I was okay with knowing what I do well and what I do wrong. And at the end of the day, there's no consequence to always improving. There's no consequence to growing. You're in a time now where people almost frown upon the world of growth. I embrace that. I embrace the world of correction. So the monsters and the world of how to tame them came from me understanding the different levels of monsters that have presented themselves to me over the years, and me getting them to a point to where I put them in a place where I can control them. They're still there. They can rear their heads, but I can say, sit down. That's not necessary. That's not needed. And I can tell when one is trying to take me back to a place of old. But at the age 43, it's exciting to know that I've grown from so much, and you know, the world of want is significantly different than what it once was.
It's really interesting. You use the analogy of like looking in the mirror and being okay with yourself. And when you said that, I was thinking, yeah, when you look in the mirror, there's no trophies. The reflection doesn't show the trophies, the wins, the money, the whatever else. It just shows you. And the fact that you've had the courage to look at that, where do you think, when you track back, I've always been fascinated by memories that we hold from our childhood that have left an imprint that's really strong in our lives, whether it be positive, challenging, whatever it may be. What's a difficult memory from childhood, do you think, that has been the catalyst for so many things in your life? Is there anything that you go back to that you're like, I can see how that, and I had to turn that into a positive?
I think the biggest memory for me is the one of being complacent. You know, as a child, I wasn't really a kid that embraced the world of challenge, right? I was very complacent. I was okay with being a subpar to low average student, right? I was okay with not trying. I was okay with not giving my all. And I was kind of okay with getting over, right? So the biggest memory that I have in my childhood is like when I got to that early teen years, that 12, that 13, that 14, being sneaky and thinking that you're constantly one-upping someone was that's what I was embracing at the highest level. Do your homework. I did it. Did you really do your homework? I did it. And you taking my word for it and not checking my homework. Oh, I didn't do it, but you think I did. I got over. Ultimately, you're slowly cheating yourself over the course of years, and it's not until you get a reality check as to why that work was necessary that you realize you're just not doing what you're supposed to do with your life, right? You're not giving your all. I had a lot of different examples of that. I truly had a mom that made sure that I had, and I didn't take advantage or embrace the real work that she put in until I got to an older age of true understanding. But to be honest, I really threw a lot of those things to the side. The extracurricular activities, the swim teams, the football teams, the basketball teams, the track and field, the baseball, all of these things as a kid, you don't understand your parents are doing to try to provide you with a world of opportunity. They're trying to keep you occupied. They're trying to embrace this idea of hard work, effort, activity, engage. They're doing all these things or all of these things to their kids, or hopefully, right, for their kids, to put their kids in a position to just want, right? Want the best, compete, study, learn, be excited about their future. That light bulb went off late. Thankfully, when it went off at the right.
At the beginning of my therapy career, a patient came by. I think it was the second or the third. I remember him. I remember all of them, but I remember him very good in this situation. I told him, "Are you maybe feeling down because you're bored?" Which was true when we unwrapped it, but at that time it hurt him a bit. It was not the most sensitive thing to say, I admit it. Then when we broke it down, we saw that is the situation. He got used to being complacent, to doing nothing. As he's saying, when our parents provide us with activities, it's for us to get attached to and realize we have that urge to get better and learn and do. In today's reality, we often find ourselves scrolling through something and trying to pass the time as if it's not the most important thing in the world, as if it's not the only coin that can't be traded and has no replacement. Once it's gone, it's gone. You see, we live to finish moments and get to the other ones, not enjoying what we have now. We often talk about that in this channel. Reminded me a lot of what he said. Let's keep going. Gotta go back a bit.
Ball went off late. Thankfully, when it went off at the right time, and I was able to identify a lot of stuff that I couldn't then. And also, thankfully, that a lot of the lessons that my mom constantly embedded in me about you don't start things that you're not going to finish, you don't quit, apply your all, do this or don't do it. You're not cheating anybody but yourself. All of these things that I heard over the course of time, there was a moment when I got older, it all hit at the same time. But the real memory for me now, looking back, is I'm glad that I do see that I am aware of that, because not being aware of that is the hugest loss. Thinking that I took full advantage, thinking that I really applied or tried myself, thinking that was 100% would be the real loss. So one of my best memories is knowing that at one point I was a slacker. You know, I was the guy.
It was the 100%. Another thing I always say in my sessions is, and it must be said, what we did was our total 100%. The reason for that being is we're doing our 100% every single second, because time does not come back, which means I can't change the percentage I acted in. It's always 100%. What state we're in and where we take it to, that's a different question. But it's not that, back then I did 50%, now I'm doing 85%. No, you did 100%. You gave it your all with the knowledge and tools you had at the time. But you evolved and you improved and you learned how to be more present, and give it, in your perception, your all. Let's keep going.
I was a slacker. I was the guy that wanted to look like he was doing, but never truly was, unless it was something that I loved and embraced. And, that was basketball, but the chances of me making that were very slim. But, that's, to answer your question, it's a ballpark of those memories that I now look back on that I appreciate, but that also act as the fuel for the hard work and the 100% that you see that I put into everything I do today.
Yeah, that's such a great reframe around what you saw as a bigger loss. I think that's so powerful for you to sit here and say, actually, I'm really happy that I can see that I wasn't putting my best foot forward, because that helps me be grateful to my mom. It helps me understand it from a different perspective. And the one thing that came to mind for me when I'm listening to you say that is, there's this quote that says, the day you realize your parents were right, your kids are telling you that you're wrong.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's always been one of those statements that I think about that in my own self. I thought my parents were wrong my entire teenage life, and I think most teenagers do. And then all of a sudden I hit my mid-20s and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My mom's been through a lot. My parents put in a lot of sacrifice. And so I love that you brought that up. I mean, one of the reasons we pushed this show back was you lost your father recently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I heard the news, obviously, my love and condolences to your family. And I was looking at what you were sharing and commenting about. And there was this one thing that you said that really stuck with me. And you said that my kids actually think I'm the coolest dad on the planet. I know why I am the way I am. My dad has a lot to do with that. The mistakes that my dad made, the decisions to do drugs, being in and out of jail, in and out of your lives. I saw firsthand what not being present did because of that. I now know what being present means.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I can do. I know what effect it can have on your child coming up. But it sounded like, obviously, when you lost your father recently, it sounds like you'd reconciled, like you'd built somewhat of a connection.
Me and my dad, we weren't the closest, but we weren't not close. My dad, at the end of the day, I'm going to love my dad for simply being my dad. Now, my dad's life, had several different versions of drastic downs, right? A small amount of ups, but a lot of downs. I can easily sit here and ridicule or judge my dad for the mistakes that he made or for his past, but that does nothing. I don't like to focus on problem. I focus on solution.
Yes.
So with me and my dad and our relationship, it was always one of solution.
We're 13 and a half minutes into this video out of 1 hour and 36 minutes. So I'm gonna stop here because we talked a lot as well, and I'm gonna continue on this, in my opinion, in this interview together. We're gonna react. Also, let me know, what do you think of this part, like reacting to maybe books and podcasts. Would love your opinion on that. That's it for today. I appreciate you so much. I was excited to come and hit the play, start recording. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic, because you're absolutely the best and you're worth everything. And I'm gonna see you in the next reaction video. Thank you and goodbye.